It might sound like exaggeration, but George Martin truly was the maestro behind the Beatles' symphony. The band may have been the heart and soul of the music, yet Martin acted as their guiding hand, the conductor who kept the Liverpool-born orchestra in sync as it marched toward immortality. John Lennon and Paul McCartney may have possessed raw genius as songwriters, but it was Martin's creative engineering that sculpted their brilliance into timeless art. His sense of arrangement, his knack for translating wild ideas into orchestral precision, those were the invisible forces turning songs into masterpieces. Still, despite his reputation for open-mindedness, there came a time when McCartney doubted Martin's willingness to embrace one of their most psychedelic experiments. By 1965, the Beatles had already begun to stretch the limits of pop music. Their film Help showed their humor, but it was in the studio that they began reshaping rock itself. Rubber Soul marked their first true artistic evolution, a compact, mature statement that hinted at the revolutions to come. Meanwhile, the British scene was shifting. Bands like the Rolling Stones were diving into raw, blues-drenched sounds, while the Beatles began to echo those edges in songs like Day Tripper, infusing their pop sensibility with a rougher, harder energy. Then came Paperback Writer, a single that fully embraced psychedelia. Influenced by Lennon's LSD-fueled creativity, the song's swirling harmonies and distorted guitar riff signaled the band's next transformation, one that would blossom fully on Revolver. Across that album, every member reinvented themselves. Lennon explored surreal, dreamlike territory on I'm Only Sleeping. Harrison brought biting satire and sharp guitar to Taxman. And McCartney crafted hauntingly tender pieces, like For No One and Eleanor Rigby. Yet even those elegant compositions couldn't outshine the boldness of Tomorrow Never Knows. Its title, borrowed from one of Ringo Starr's offhand phrases, fronted one of the most mind-bending songs of the era. Lennon drew inspiration from Timothy Leary's The Psychedelic Experience, seeking to translate the language of spiritual awakening into sound. McCartney was fascinated by the concept, though uncertain how Martin would react. The song hovered on a single chord, and to McCartney, that seemed dangerously simple, perhaps too primitive for a classically trained producer. He compared it to Indian music, which often revolved around one drone, and worried Martin might find it unsophisticated compared to their earlier, more harmonic work. But Martin, ever the innovator, saw possibility instead of limitation. When Lennon presented the idea, Martin responded not with hesitation, but curiosity. He found it intriguing, an experiment worth pursuing. Guided by his open mind, the group began constructing Lennon's sonic dream. Ringo's hypnotic looped drum patterns, reverse guitar tapes, and swirling effects layered into a soundscape that couldn't possibly be recreated live. McCartney would later reflect that Martin's calm acceptance was what made him extraordinary. Though older than the band and classically inclined, he never dismissed their experiments. When faced with their strangest creations, he responded with quiet fascination rather than resistance. He might have wondered privately how such chaos could become a record, but by then, he trusted that the band knew what they were doing. Even when their ideas stretched beyond his own experience, he adapted, shaping their raw imagination into form. That adaptability made George Martin not just a producer, but a true conductor of creative energy. He understood that his role wasn't to outshine the Beatles, but to channel them, to let their instincts move faster than logic ever could, and to ensure the world could hear their ideas at full force. Though Tomorrow Never Knows was nearly impossible to perform live, it wasn't meant for the stage. It was a manifesto, a bold declaration that the Beatles had outgrown the pop world they once ruled. It marked the moment they stepped into the unknown, transforming from charming hitmakers into pioneers of sound who would forever redefine what rock music could be.